These are barefoot shoes, and these are my feet. In this video, I'm gonna explain how I absolutely destroyed these feet by running in these shoes, how it's affecting me in my training now, and what you should avoid if you're dead set on running in barefoot shoes like I am. And let me be clear, this is only me telling you what you shouldn't do. This is sort of a case study story to give you an idea of the shitty things that can happen to you.
Oh boy.
And it will become pretty obvious through this video that I am not some kind of running coach.
I'm just a ridiculous person.
First of all, don't get me wrong, I love barefoot shoes, and I still think that they're probably one of the best things I've done for my physical health. You just have to make sure you use them properly. I do everything from walking and hiking to working out in them, and I've experienced so many benefits like no more lower back pain, stronger feet, and increased balance, just to name a few. But more recently, I started running in them, and that is where everything has started to go south for me. I decided that I wanted to run a marathon in barefoot shoes, and considering I'm such a fine specimen of a man at 200 pounds, I thought nothing could hurt me. I didn't really read up much about barefoot and barefoot shoe running. I kind of just started doing it because I knew I wasn't going to put normal shoes back on my feet. But I knew the main advice that most people give is to start slow and work your way up. So that's exactly what I didn't do. The first thing I did was try to run a full marathon without training for it at all. I know, smart.
My feet hurt so much.
You can watch me try to do it here. And ever since that day, my feet have never felt the same. I went from having no foot pain and what I'd say were really strong feet in general to feeling like I have osteoporosis in the span of a day. It took me over a month just to heal like 95% from that experience. So what did I do next? I started training so I could actually finish a marathon in barefoot shoes, and I set my goal to do it after 7 weeks of training, starting with no experience. If you run at all or have even the slightest bit of common sense, you know how stupid that is. But I thought I had to make interesting videos, and everyone loves a hero that defies the odds, right? This time, I was ready to start with less and build myself up. So the first day, I threw on a 30-pound weight vest and went for a 5-kilometer run. I figured 5 kilometers wasn't really that far, and I thought that if I was doing shorter distances, I could get better results by adding weight so my feet got even stronger in less time. More bang for the buck. Genius. Unsurprisingly, I was pretty sore the next day, so I took it easier and only did a 5K with 20 pounds on. Again, my feet were even more sore the next day, and I was starting to get Achilles tendon pain, so I went for another 5K the next day, but this time left the extra weight at home. I think by this point, you may be able to see where the story is going. The next day, I was too sore to run at all, but I kept doing 5Ks every day after that and getting worse and worse foot pain. Basically, ever since those days, my feet have never fully healed. In those first couple of weeks, I was trying to run every day so I could put out a YouTube short every day. That, to me, was apparently more important than my foot health. Eventually, I got over that idea because my feet and Achilles tendons just could not take it. So I reduced my running to 3 times a week with a long run on the weekend that would get longer as the weeks went on. That didn't help. I was still doing just about as much as my body could handle without completely breaking down. My feet were still never fully healing, and the soreness and stiffness was just compounding until I did a half marathon training run 4 weeks in, and my feet were absolutely cooked for days afterwards. Worse than before, because I was just struggling to even walk at all this time. My legs were moving about as good as Caitlyn Jenner after bottom surgery. So I decided I was gonna take the week off, and during that week, for fun, I went to a parkour park. I wasn't pushing it, mostly just doing the stuff that didn't involve my feet, and I just jokingly easily tried running up a warp wall they had there, not really planning to actually make it to the top, and right when I planted my foot on the wall, I tore my plantar fascia. It took me 3 full weeks to even start running again, which, if you watch my other video, actually ended up being pretty quick for this injury, but it still wasn't ideal to have done it in the first place. I didn't make my 7-week goal because of the injury, but my new goal was another 8 weeks away. Again, I'm a moron. When I got back to running, the volume I was doing was still too much, so I ended up having to reduce my frequency to just the long run on the weekends so I could let my feet heal to like 80% for the rest of the week. The weeks went by, and the whole time I was thinking about scrapping my goal altogether, making the distance shorter or making my timeline a lot longer. But in my mind, everybody likes the idea of a marathon. No one gives a shit about a half marathon, and it's so much cooler and more clickable if you push through the pain and do it with very little training. So I pushed through that pain because I made my goal and I was gonna stick to it. This sounds like it's gonna turn into some kind of inspirational, never give up on your goals moment, but trust me, that's not this video. If your goals are causing you to, for no good reason, risk your ability to ever walk normally again, like mine were, they are pretty stupid goals and you should give up on them. Or maybe I should reword that. Your goal may be just fine, but the timeline for it, or the way you're going about reaching it, aren't conducive to you succeeding and should be reconsidered. That's more PC. But I didn't care that I knew I should change my goal, and I wasn't gonna give up. I kept running and putting myself through the pain, and it all culminated in my second attempt at a marathon. After that day, I've tried to run again, but my feet hurt so much that I just can't do it for more than like one small run.
I can barely walk. Fuck me.
My left plantar fascia, the one I didn't tear, constantly feels like it's on the verge of tearing, and I've honestly started considering just slamming my foot on the ground and tearing it, because after recovering, my right foot actually has more mobility and functionality than my left. But still, both feet are just generally sore all over, all the time, and if I do anything more than walk on them, they instantly start to get really sore again. So that was a bit of a long story, but what I'm trying to get across with it is how you need to really evaluate what your goals are and why you're trying to achieve them when you start running in barefoot shoes. I have a long list of health-related reasons and goals for why I use barefoot shoes for everything I do, and you may find that these are things you want too. But on the flip side, there can also be severe consequences for having unrealistic goals and expectations when starting to run in barefoot shoes. Because I set my goal so big, I ended up doing a lot of damage to my feet and risked injuring myself even more by potentially getting stress fractures or other torn ligaments or strained muscles. And all that for what? To make a good YouTube video? To feel like I'm badass for pushing through the pain? Or to complete an unrealistic goal? Take it from me, there's no extra points for pushing through debilitating pain, and you're only gonna set yourself back. You're bound to be a bit sore no matter what distance you do for your first run in barefoot shoes, but you can tell when a part of your body is sore because you've worked the muscles and it's like a good soreness that's gonna turn into gains, versus you're sore and it's like, damn, I fucked something up. My soreness was pretty much always the latter, but I kept doing it anyways. Make sure yours is the former, and if it isn't, then reevaluate things like how long and often you're running or your running form. A lot of people will give you the advice to start easy and work your way up, and I'm the perfect case study to show you why that's what you have to do. You may be thinking to yourself, well, I'm clearly not as stupid as this guy. He just went way too hard, too fast. I just won't do that. Well, you may be surprised at how fast you want to be good at things and what you might compromise on to get there quicker. A lot of people don't go into things like this with the mindset that it may take years to get anywhere with it. I lacked that mindset going into working out in high school, starting this YouTube channel, and trying to run a marathon in barefoot shoes. So if you're anything like me, make sure you're preparing yourself for this taking a lot longer than you want it to. Unless you're some kind of freak of nature, then fuck off. But for most of you, it may take you a year to feel comfortable running 20K, 10K, 5K, or even 1. But don't rush it. It's better than spending half that time recovering from injuries and having to start off worse than before because you just keep trying to do way too much. After all, if you're running or gonna run in barefoot shoes, I can only imagine you're doing it to be healthier, so don't compromise on that goal. As of right now, I haven't run at all for a couple of weeks. I've been doing a lot of rehab exercises and massaging, and my feet are feeling like they're healing, but they're nowhere close to fully healed. This whole experience has been a train wreck for other parts of my training. Planting my feet for squats, deadlifts, and calf raises is kinda uncomfortable. And something I really enjoyed before I started running was training for jumping. Just jumping high. I haven't been able to do that at all since I started running because I feel like I'll break and tear everything in my feet with the amount of force I'm putting into them. I tried a jump workout one time since I started running, and instantly when I tried to go about 80% power, I pulled something beside my right heel.
The power level's too high!
Nothing like this ever happened to me before. I had bad knees for a lot of my life, but I've never had a problem with my feet until now. At this point, I'm able to do all the workouts that I need to do to remain an absolute beefcake. And I do them without too much discomfort, but I do miss jumping, sprinting, and doing more athletic training. and I'm just disappointed that I've pushed myself to a point where I have no idea how long it's gonna be before I can do those things again. And I hope this video helps you to avoid the same fate. I honestly don't know if my feet will ever be the same after this experience, so don't be like me. Work towards your goals at the pace that feels right, strengthen your feet, and don't fuck them. So until the next one, get out and challenge yourselves, but don't cripple yourselves. Stay healthy, guys.